Let's do this because this is huge. I think that this is probably one of the biggest things that we can take into consideration or look at with respect to our life. I saw a study that said literally 20 to 26% of adults are chronic procrastinators. Okay. And as many as 95% are occasional procrastinators. And if we threw the teens in there, look out, it's going to be even worse. So what I want to have a conversation around is partly time management, but also how you experience time. That's our journey today. Let's get into it. Let me jump to my iPad and let's see what we can make happen first. And the first thing I want to start to understand is for us to start to look at this idea of time and income and everything and how we might be compromising what we do. And here's what I mean by that is that if we think of income on one axis, and this could be your salary, it could be your profits, it could be your revenues, however you want to define it, and time on the other axis. Then we get a chance to look at things where there's 4 places that you can find yourself in here. Now, I will tell you right now that I've been in 3 of these, and there's only one that feels really good. All right. And the first place that you can see is this zone down here where there's very little income and very little time. You're just kind of what I call standing. You're just standing still. You're not really making progress in your life. And it's that growth in life that we want to use the time to experience life in a great way. Now, most of the time in this situation, people are unsure. They're not sure what direction to go. They're driven. Their choices are driven by bills. Their choices are driven by immediate needs. So they're literally going around trying to put out fires. Okay. Now, what happens is that when we correct this, all of a sudden, we might find ourselves in a position where we're actually making some money. Okay. And we're making money, but we have no time. And this is what I call drowning. Now, I've been here. This is a lot like we've got the money, but I've got no time. I've got no ability to have a relationship with my children. I have no ability to have a relationship with my spouse, my significant other. I'm struggling. I remember early on when I first moved down to the beach, I thought, I want to take another way to exercise. And I thought I was just going to pick up surfing. I figured, how hard can it be to get on a big board, paddle out, and then just ride it in? All right. Well, it didn't take me long to end up in a situation where a wave took me under and I'm sucking for air. I'm trying to find the bottom so I can push myself to the top so I can breathe. And this is what happens in this drowning zone is that, yeah, we've got the money coming in. We're getting our salary. We're getting our profits. We're doing all the things. There's no enjoyment. There's no experiencing life. You're in the undertow. You're not having meaningful relationships. You're not seeing your friends. You're not doing the generous contribution, the generosity that you want. It's where I think that this idea of you'll hear work-life balance come into play. And I think that's a mistake because work-life balance insinuates that we've got 2 counterweights, one on one side, one on the other side playing tug of war. And that's really not the game that I think we need to play. I think we need to play a game where we're looking at things through the eyes of harmony. And your work-life harmony, your life's harmony comes from intentional pursuits and intentional use of your time. Okay. And so what happens is that, great. So now I've had the money. I got to figure some things out. Now let's look at the other quadrant. Now I was in the drowning point. I was in the undertow. I was having those problems, but there was the other area where you could see it is here. And that's where we're putting in a ton of time, but we're not making a lot of money. All right. This is really a situation where we're in the grind. We're grinding. Okay. And you may feel this now, nothing against it. But this is the game that I was playing as an accountant, where people would call me up and say, can I buy an hour of your time? So I was swapping hours for dollars. I was grinding as much as I could. And the only way for me to make more money was to sell more hours, to run faster, to run harder, to run and keep going. And what ended up happening is breakdown and burnout. Okay. And so the challenge with that is, again, we are now burning our time, not making the money, still not experiencing life. But what we need to look at is when we do this correctly, we find ourselves up in this quadrant. And in this quadrant, this is where we begin to soar. Okay, this is where you start soaring. This is where you're making money. The money you're making makes sense. You're enjoying and building relationships, and you're actually experiencing life. And so when we start to look at this, there's one sweet spot in this space. There's a sweet spot where we need to start looking at things through a different set of eyes. And this is where I think that you'll start to see how this can play out. And it's right up here in this corner. And in this corner is where you start to see how time in and of itself gives you choice. And I think when we talk about time management, what we're talking about is having choice. To be able to choose and be intentional about what we do with what we have. Because here's the thing that happened with me, just so you understand, and I know that you know some of my story, but the fact of the matter is that in 2019, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I realized for the first time, the reality really set in that I had a finite time here on earth. And that the reality of making money is one side of the equation, but the greatest currency that we have in our lifetime is our time and not our dollars. It's why when we talk about money, when I talk about money, that what we need to look at is how do we calculate our wealth via time? Do you understand, or do you have the ability to control the moments of time in your life? And the more moments that you have the ability to control by choice, by intent, whether you're in a business where you can choose the things you're going to do, whether you're in a job, working for a corporation and looking at the tasks and the things that you're doing, saying, is this job giving me the joy, the excitement, the fulfillment that we want? I get it. Look, every job, every business, not everything is going to be, tulips and daisies and fun. It just isn't. But is the majority of the time lived with excitement, energy, and joy? Because when we experience time through those eyes, now all of a sudden, time takes on a whole different value.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.